Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today I'll be bringing you another restoration I just completed here, and this is a really nice Polymoog 203A that came all the way from British Columbia. So it made quite a trip over here to Alabama, but went through it and basically just did my typical stuff, go through it and restore everything. 12-hour burn-in, I rebuilt the keyboard assembly, and just got this thing like it needs to be here. But John, the owner of this one, this is a video for you as well, just going over it to show you everything's functioning. And for you guys that are familiar with the Polymoog and some other videos, feel free to watch. I always enjoy you guys watching and commenting here. But anyways, you can just see how clean this thing looks. I actually took the interface apart, washed everything, cleaned the sliders out, flushed them, re-lubed them, and just got it really nice looking here. My cameras don't want to focus there. New LEDs. It got the volume mounted modification for our preset 7. You can see it looks really nice all the way down there. All the keys are nice and even. As you can see, I actually had to spend some time with this keyboard. I used a donor keyboard actually. What happened was this one arrived, the screws weren't in the keyboard and it just slammed. And so it scratched all these keys up. So I had a donor Polymoog. I took his keyboard and this keyboard and mashed them together to make one really nice keyboard assembly here. But you can see how nice and even the notes are there. Factory alignment specs, so it has the correct dynamic response for all the notes. Cleaned up the top cover here, conditioned the plastics. We'll just walk on around here. And then I'll show you here, also has this Ontario Hydro electrical approval here. That's pretty neat. But this is your serial number, 3449. And once again, just kind of show you how clean everything is. Clean all the jacks, they're all nice and clean. You got one that's a little discolored for some reason, but it kind of is what it is. It looks like somebody may have marked that one at some point with a highlighter or something. But it is really clean. Looks good all the way down. And it plays really well as well now. Did a lot of upgrades in it, so we upgraded a lot of the circuitry, so it's going to be really reliable for you. But anyways, let me put the keyboard on the camera on the stand here, and I'll make you guys a demo. Alright, so first I'm just going to start with a nice sound of the Polymoog. This is a custom program I've built here in the variation mode. Just kind of give you an idea how this thing sounds. So here we go. you hear this thing sounds really great. That's just some custom programming there, playing with some sliders. But now I'm actually going to break it down and show you the sections of this thing so you can see everything's working. So we'll go back to direct output here. Turn off our modulations to 0, set our pulse width to square. So there's our waveforms here. So we'll start with the sawtooth. So right down here is where you select your waveforms, of course. So here that's the sawtooth, variable pulse, and the mixture. So we'll start with the sawtooth here. I'm going to go down the scale of the keyboard, see all the keys are working for the sawtooth. Here all the sawtooths are working. We've also got the ranked footage of 8 or 4. It is normal for the volume to change a little bit when you select these different things. It's just the way the actual wave shaping circuitry works. But that's your sawtooth. You've also got the rank tune, which you've already heard me play with here, but I'll show you that it works. And I had to fix one thing, because now when you're in preset mode, this was still active. As you can see, when you're in preset mode, it doesn't do anything. So that's working correctly now here. So we got the sawtooth frequency modulation. And then we also have our mix volume here of our sawtooth. When you get in certain programs, this comes really in handy. And also, if you want to bring the volume up of your footage 4, you bump it just a hair and bring that up back to volume of the 8 footage there. So anyways, that's the sawtooth. Now we'll go to the variable pulse. So I'll show you, first of all, that all the notes work for the keyboard for the square wave. Here they all work. And right now we're just in a basic square wave. We can shape our duty cycle. I'll show you this real quick. Well, let me go here first. We got the footage, so we got 8 or 16 on it. As you can hear, that's our footage of 16 or 8. Then we got the frequency modulation for the square wave. The same thing, the rate and amount. As you can see, now we get to the pulse width. We can change the pulse width of this. And you have one for upper and lower. So as you can hear right now, the lower is still square wave. Your split point is this note right here, the C sharp. I'm sorry, the D sharp. And you got a control for your lower as well. So you can hear. So right now we're at like a 5% duty cycle. But what really is cool about the Polymoog is we can modulate that as well. So bring our pulse width up just a hair so we can set our amount of modulation. So now we're modulating the upper, the lower is still unmodulated. We can modulate the lower separately. And then we got our variable rate. And then we still got our frequency modulation on top of that, so we can... So it's just the square wave or variable pulse. We can combine that back with the sawtooth. Put a little frequency modulation on the sawtooth now. So anyways, you hear how complex that sound can get. We also have this button here called lock and free. And what it allows you to do is actually lock the oscillators together so they share one oscillator for the main drive. So we can get one modulation source. So here it is free. And you'll hear the modulation here, but it sounds like a phase modulation. That's free. So you can hear how that works. So it's a really kind of nice feature there if you want to share just one modulation for both oscillators, for the square and saw. It works really nice there. But anyways, that's the primary function of the oscillators there. We also have the pitch ribbon. I'll show you this real quick. So you can hear. So that's your pitch wheel, your pitch ribbon. And so that's pretty much the oscillator section of this instrument. Now we'll go to our loudness control here. Now it's also, I need to mention that loudness is affected, it affects the volume depending on how you have this stuff set. So right now we got a really fast attack on here. And put a real slow attack on there, and it's going to affect the volume, so you won't hear quite the volume. So that's your loudness, your attack. You'll also see me hit this button here. I always bring this up, the final decay button. With this button here, when it's in manual, it's looking for the poly pedal sustain. When you're in lock, it actually locks the sustain. So you can see we don't have any sustain when that's in manual. So it has to be in lock. It's just a way to get around some of the design characteristics of this envelope. So we got that. We got the attack. Now we got the decay release. We can bring that all the way down. It's going to be just a quick, just as if you had this button here in manual. But what makes the Polymoog also really cool is it has unlimited polyphony. So we can bring these things up. You can quickly hit manual to bring all that out. But yeah, that's your decay release slider. So we can actually got one for the lower. So we can actually make the lower. Once again, the split point is this D sharp. If we go here, we can do right the opposite. Clean that out. And I use that method a lot, like when I need to free up a hand for the low octave, I can hit a chord and then set this all the way up and it'll sustain down here while I play upper with both hands. Really nice kind of feature there. That's your decay release. Then we've also got the sustain, which if we bring the sustain all the way down, see, these are now going to be just a... That literally sets your sustain. We can bring these up a little bit. You can also start to hear the dynamic response of this keyboard. And of course we can adjust all that by putting just a little bit of sustain on it. And the sustain greatly affects your volume overall. We can adjust our dynamic slider here too to make it more, if we go to 10, it's going to be just a hard dynamic. If we bring it down, put a little attack on that. Play with our keyboard dynamic settings here, and we'll bring that up just a little bit so it'll have a little bit more. See, when we go to 10 though, it's going to be instant. But your sustain plays an important role of your dynamic. So if you have sustain turned all the way up, you won't have very much dynamic control. But you bring it down a little bit, put a little bit of attack on it, and then you can bring out the dynamics by setting it up with a lower sustain. And of course, like I say, this affects volume. So you can use your octave balance or your mixer to bring this up when you set this way, and then you can have more volume. See how that works. So that's pretty much your dynamics and your loudness control there. Kind of set it back up here. So we are there. So then what we got is we got the resonator section and voltage controlled filter. So we'll go over here, bring out the resonator. So right now we're in band pass, we can go high pass or low pass. And then basically we got different stages. I'm going to make this thing have a long sustain so I can show you how this thing sounds. This is where the Polymoog gets kind of magical as well with all these modulations. So we're going to put some modulations here on it. Let me go back to direct. Let's go here, bring out the resonator. So we got the lows. We got a gain setting. That's our lows. Here's our mids. Then we got our highs. You combine them. Anyway, how your resonator works. And I was just going through the lows and band, low band, high pass, low pass filter settings here. So that's pretty much our resonator. We can also split the keyboard with it. I should show you that. So we got keyboard split upper. So now the lower octaves won't do anything until once again that split point. But now we got just the upper keys on it. And so what we'll do, we'll keep that on the upper. I'll go to the filter, the VCF, we'll put it on the low, go split lower. So now the low keys. Or right the opposite. So put them all together. So I got our sustain set, our decay release set pretty high there. But anyways, that's the way you can actually split the keyboards in both sections. We'll go with the filter a little bit more depth here. We're back in all, so that's going to be across the... So we have the emphasis and cutoff. Now this filter doesn't work. It's a Moog ladder filter, but it doesn't quite have the same response as normal filters. Mostly because you're having to deal with chords and a lot of decibels, so it works a little bit different. But it's also got a monophonic keyboard circuit in this thing as well. And the filter uses that to track the keyboard. So it's monophonic, which means it's only going to be one note. You can hear it tracking the keyboard. We got glide over here, external keyboard glide, which works with that. See how that sounds. So bring the keyboard back down here on the keyboard tracking. We've also got the modulation, which you've already heard. We got triangular wave, or we got sample and hold. And they share the same rate for the sample and hold and triangular. But you can combine them and do some really cool stuff there too. We've also got an envelope generator dedicated just for the filter. So we'll set everything to 0 here. We'll make a slow attack. So here's just the envelope for the filter. That's our decay. Here's our attack. I'm sorry. That was the attack we heard earlier. This is the decay. So we can set a decay slow. It don't sound very impressive till you use this button here. Let me turn that down a little loud. But now what we're doing, we're locking the envelope, a hard attack on our loudness, and we got a slow decay over here on our filter. We can bring it all the way to 0 and it'd be just a click. So that's our decay. We also got sustain level. So if we set it's basically just like on any other synth with the sustain, it sets usually the amount of how low that decay actually goes. So if we put some decay on it, then it can go all the way to 0. But it actually sets how far the decay goes down. And you also got your amount of control here, just like the knob on the Mini Moog by your filters. So if you don't want the full, we can bring that out. Combine that back with the direct. But a lot of these parts aren't very impressive until you start actually mixing the outputs, and it gets really, really cool. So you get something like that right there. Sorry, the train's going by outside. You might hear it. But anyways, that's pretty much the sections of the synthesizer. Now I'm going to go over presets. So presets, we'll start at 1 here. So here's just direct output. We have a mode filter, which is a little fixed filter for this preset. Now sometimes they're lower in volume. So that's our mode filter. And then we also got a VCF program. Which is a lot softer. But now something I do like about preset 1, if we go to variation mode here and we put a nice slow attack, it actually has its own modulation envelope. So it actually makes the envelope, the frequency modulation come in and out as you play notes. Make it have a little longer sustain here, or decay release. You hear that modulation die out when I left the keys. As you can hear. So that's preset 1. Here's preset 2. Direct output first. This is piano. Here it is to the mode filter, or the fixed filter bank. So that's our mode filters. Here's our VCF. Has a nice little envelope on it there. Here's preset 3, organ. Here's our mode filter. And then here's our filter. Has an envelope on it as well. As you can hear. Direct. Here's preset 4, harpsichord. That's direct. Here's mode. And then here's filter. And like I say, a lot of these presets can be softer than others. That's just kind of how it is on these things. I guess because the way, it's actually I know why. It's because the way the loudness control works, how it's engineered. Anytime you add dynamics or attack, or you set your sustain level, it affects your overall volume. And since these are all different programs in the presets, it gives you a different volume output. That's the only really drawback to the presets on this thing. So here's Funk, preset 5, direct output. Here's our mode filter. And here's our VCF. Now the VCF on this one actually has sample and hold programmed. So there's preset 5, here's preset 6, direct output. Here's our mode filter. This is when you can really hear the dynamic. So that's our mode filter. Here's our VCF. So there's preset 6. Now preset 7 was Vibes originally. That's when I changed to be Vox Humana. So now this is Vox Humana. I'll put this thing, right now you can see I'm still haven't used the final decay button. If I have this thing, so we'll set the lock. So that's the new Vox Humana program here. Now it still has the mode filter for the actual for the actual vibes, but it works really well. Because actually, if you take it and combine it with the direct just a little bit, here it sounds great. Now what I've also done, I've modified the programming in the VCF, so now it's actually got this kind of cool like Cars intro. So there we go. So that's the new Vox Humana preset that I've programmed. It's a modification I do to these things for those that don't know. I take basically the most basic preset, which is Vibes. It's just a square wave with a little bit of vibrato. I take the programming out and I program in the values needed to make Vox Humana. So that's how that works. Vox Humana was only available on the 280A, which is the cut down version of the 203A. So it's a really nice kind of feature for the 203A. So now the next preset is Brass, preset 8. Here it is in direct. Here it is in the modes. And here's our VCL for that. There's combined with the mode output. So that's really the presets. Something else that's nice, I will show you this. So if we go back to a preset, let's say that we want to, let's take number 1 for example. I'm going to show you what this part full button does. So right now we're in preset 1. It's factory. let's say that I want to have a loudness control setting that follows through all the presets. So I'm going to go to variation mode, lock. We got this set up now like so. I'm going to hit this part full button. And now what happens is when I change presets, my loudness control will hold the variation mode while everything else goes to the presets. So now we're in preset 2. And you can see it's holding that variation mode for my loudness. Of course, I went to variation mode. So if you go to variation mode, it actually sets the thing to variation. So you have to make sure that when you do this and you set this up, don't hit 9, because otherwise it's going to change everything to variation. It's going to lock it all in variation mode no matter what preset you go to. So that's a really nice feature, and of course I can turn that off, turn the part full off, hit the 1 again, and you'll see it jump over here to preset. And our envelope's back in the factory preset setting. I'll show also the fine-tuned beat right quick. I hadn't showed you that. Now that's a good one to show you on Vox Humana because Gary Newman used this a lot. So for example, we're in Vox Humana here. So if we detune it, and what that does, that detunes the 2 oscillators from each other. So if we go here and put it in variation, you see we're almost at 0 beat there. If I can go either plus or negative, but when you combine that, it actually changes the way the thing sounds. And of course we also got our master tune as well, so we can take this knob behind here. These are 2 separate knobs. I can actually take that one and detune the whole instrument. So if we go here, this way you can actually master tune the instrument a little bit there. But anyways, that's the Polymoog. I just want to take a quick minute here and go over it for you, John, and for anybody else that's curious about the Polymoog and some other videos. Here's another one complete, ready to go home. And as always, guys, I appreciate you watching. And special thanks to John for giving me the opportunity to work on this thing for you. So it's been a real pleasure here. But there'll be more here to come here very soon. Take care.